things are just never said. No. Oh, yeah. Story of my life, ordinary person just like you. If you take a look inside, you see the great things that people do. Changing lives day and night, nothing I do ever makes the news. Still I have to do what's right, to the King of all kings, all praises due. Yesterday I was on a train, a little boy asked me my name. He said, sir, I've seen you before, tell me who are you? Said I am a legend that you never heard of before. I said I am a lion, but you never heard me roar. Oh, I am a hero that nobody celebrates. But if one person remembers my name, that means I've made a change. I'm the man who cooks the food.
Yo, Wagwan people, it's the Great for Yardy podcast, episode number 40. Off the top of the show, you heard Chronic's Legend from his album called Chronology. You can always check it out on iTunes or Spotify, wherever else you listen and download your tunes. Alright, as usual, it's Drew on the ends, talking the things them on the ends. You can always reach me, facebook.com/the podcast. You can also hit me up on Twitter, that is at Mr. Special. On Instagram, they're on IG now. So Instagram is Mr._special. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And we also have a YouTube page. So youtube.com/the podcast. All right. Where this episode will be up. Also, Facebook will have the link also. All right. So, two things I want to talk about this week. First thing is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And the second thing might be a rant on stuff that I see in my local area that could work for other businesses and entertainment and etc. But the first thing I want to talk about is that WWE presented a little, I call them network specials. They're not pay-per-views anymore because they have them on the network, known as Great Balls of Fire. And to me, the show was okay. I did like what they did with Joe and Brock Lesnar. The only thing I didn't like was their finish. They just made Joe kind of job out by one F5. Maybe if Brock hit like 3 F5s on him or something, then I could understand. I understood the story of Joe trying to lock in the coquina clutch and almost getting it, yada, yada, yada. And on Raw last night, we saw that next week, it's Joe and Roman Reigns to see who faces Brock at SummerSlam. The thing that I totally hated, was the whole ambulance match. The match itself, you know what an ambulance match is. There's going to be a lot of plunder, as you would say. And the match ended with Braun moving out of the way. Roman goes in the ambulance. Braun shuts the door. He's celebrating. And then Roman comes out, beats up Braun, puts him in the back of the ambulance, drives the ambulance to the back. He assaults the ambulance driver, or the EMT. Then he drives this ambulance to the back, reverses it, and slams the ambulance into a trailer back. Thing I didn't like is this: in the real world of the world, anybody in the contents of sport, what happens on the field is governed by the governing body of the sport. Therefore, when the match ends, the match ends. But this now, Roman not only assaulted the driver, he almost should be charged for vehicular manslaughter. Well, the Braun didn't die, but vehicular assault or something, because it's outrageous that a guy can beat up an EMT, commandeer an ambulance, and smash the ambulance with somebody in it almost trying to kill him. See, there's the problem I have with professional wrestling. Yes, you can put the story and the sports entertainment aspect in all types of things and the entertainment value and the soap opera value in it. You're allowed to. It's perfectly normal to do so. But the thing is, this criminal aspect, and the thing is, Roman is not even getting repercussions behind it because he's getting an opportunity to go fight for a championship after he almost near killed somebody in an ambulance. Isn't that ridiculous? The logic sometimes in pro wrestling irks my brain. I love it. I enjoy it. I watch it for what it is. But sometimes, really, in professional wrestling, start taking the reality aspect of the world. What would have been cool on Raw is that you see a detective come out. You see them read Roman his Miranda rights. Roman is arrested in front of the people. You have Roman go away for a while. It would make no sense. But no, he almost kills a man, but let's put him in the championship picture. It boggles my mind. It's just, where's the logic behind it? Where's the logic behind it, folks? Okay? I want to say this very, very, very delicately if I can. And you've heard me talk about it on prior podcasts before, or prior shows before, where I talked about how I live in Toronto, and Toronto's an event town because we had a Ross Rubber Ducky for Canada's 150th birthday that had nothing to do with Canada at our harborfront, and the government spent X amount of thousands of taxpayers' dollars for this Ross Rubber Ducky to be downtown Toronto, and people went there and took photos of it and Instagrammed themselves on around a rubber ducky that has zero tie into Canada. There wasn't dressed up Canadian, didn't have a hockey stick in his hand, didn't have on his Canadian tuxedo. For those who don't know what a Canadian tuxedo is, that is a jean shirt, jean jacket, jean pants. That is a Canadian tuxedo. Okay? This duck did not have anything going towards it regarding Canada. For Canada's 150th birthday. Had nothing to do with Canada. Okay? The problem I have with my city, and I could even say my country, even though I haven't traveled my country that much, I've been to Montreal, Quebec, Canada a couple of times. And just a little update for those who are listening, the American League won this year's MLB All-Star Game 2-1 in 10 innings. All right, so back to what I was saying. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. Toronto especially is an event town. A rubber ducky comes to town and millions of people over a 4-day period come out to see this rubber ducky, a rubber duck. Okay? Sorry. The problem I'm having is this. I was talking about professional wrestling, so I'm going to tie this in with professional wrestling as much as I can. And I've seen a rise of a local professional wrestling organization or promotion in my city known as Smash Wrestling, starting off small, and now they have a television deal with Fight Network here in Canada, which is they're going to air their first show. I believe it's this Thursday after GFW Impact at 10 o'clock. The reason why I'm bringing this up is this. Toronto supports professional wrestling, and I will say that since I was a child in the days of the WWF, coming here to Maple Leaf Gardens and Billy Red Lions and Hulk Hogan and all those guys used to come up to Toronto. Even Ric Flair came up to Toronto in the NWA when Jack Tunney's family was running Maple Leaf Wrestling. Wrestling has always been promoted and loved by many people in the city very, very well. I remember UWA was another organization that was in the, I would say, mid to late 2000s that was tearing the house down in Mississauga, and you could see the up-and-coming guys like Chris Hero was there, and Tyler Black, that you guys know as Seth Rollins now, would come to a little place in Mississauga and have shows, and I think he paid like $10, and you would see amazing wrestling. The reason why I'm bringing this up is this, because especially in the world I work in now in entertainment, known as music, Some of the elements that I've seen that Smash have done could work in music. And maybe somebody listening to this maybe will understand it. If you're a promoter's job is to find talent, book the talent, promote a show, find a venue for the the artists or the wrestlers to perform in, make sure they have the equipment that they need, i.e. in professional wrestling you need a ring, and in music you need a stage. So somewhere with a stage or whatever you got to do, promote the show, sell tickets, have merchandise, get people excited to come see the show, make sure that the people that are performing get paid, and etc. etc. Okay, in professional wrestling, we see promotions working with other promotions all the time, helping each other out, wrestlers going to other promotions, yada yada yada. But in this city, especially with music, there is too many skullduggery, thievery promoters that are claiming that they're promoters that don't promote, venues that say they want to book music but don't pay artists and don't promote the music, and then they wonder why their bar closes down in like a year. The problem is that if you are a promoter, you're promoting music, you have to give an incentive for the people them to come to watch the show you're promoting. If you're not out there doing the grunt work promoting the show that you've invested money into and finding the talent to do the show and etc., the show is not going to be successful because you're not pushing the show that people need to come see. This is the thing with wrestling. I've seen a promotion be in the local community center ballroom and hold 30 people. And they charge 30 people, say $15 a head. But the thing is, they have put a name on the marquee that people know. Especially in this city, in Toronto, the wrestling crowd is very educated. So therefore, being educated about pro wrestling, that means you know guys outside of the big company known as Pro Wrestling Entertainment. So if you see a guy on a card locally coming to your local promotion for wrestling, and his say let's throw a name out there right now, hottest free agent in wrestling, Cody Rhodes. So a company says Cody Rhodes is gonna be at so and so thing. That's a name that people know that are smart wrestling fans. Oh, Cody Rhodes is gonna be on the show. I'm gonna go, and you're gonna spend your $20 because the show's promoted that Cody Rhodes is gonna be on the show. But you know, in wrestling, cards are always subject to change. But you're going there for the entertainment value. The promoter is not asking the wrestlers to sell tickets and give him money to pay to wrestle. But in music, the promoter is asking the artist to buy tickets, sell the tickets, and then give him back money. So the artist is paying twice. And in the city, because we're such event driven, and some of the musicians are not smart, they are poo-pooing on their brand, destroying the relationship between the artist and the fan, because they listen to a promoter that says you have to pay to play me. No other entertainment venue out there says you have to pay to play me or play to work. For instance, if an actor goes for an audition or goes on Craigslist or wherever to see a job, and it says for not paid, that actor is making a choice to say, okay, this is gonna help my reel, so I know I'm not gonna get paid because they don't have it in the budget. But these music promoters are out here gouging the artists, and the artists need to take back the power, because without artists there ain't no shows, and without musicians there ain't a music scene in Toronto. When you take back the power and say, I can swear, fuck off to the promoters and start doing things your own way and not poo-pooing on your brand and taking every Tom, Dick, and hoeing yourself show because it's an exposure. Exposure equals YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any other social media. You having your phone playing your guitar in your basement, nobody's going to know it's not Roy Thompson Hall. You on the subway coming home from your job. How many times I've seen in New York subways on YouTube that guys are playing with puppets, rocking out with their amps and stuff to entertain people. That's exposure, because you're choosing to expose yourself to the public without paying a money and not getting monetary funds. But if you're out there and somebody says, hey, you know what, I like your stuff, I have a birthday party coming up, you can hand them a card. But artists in Toronto don't think that way. They think if I play 77 billion open mics in a year, I'm being exposed. No, you hoeing yourself. That's the issue. And when I watched it, especially with Smash Wrestling, starting off small, they went from the community center, now they're at the Phoenix. But here's the problem too. They can book the Phoenix because they know the Phoenix knows they're going to get 100, 200 people or more to come to the show. They know this. But the Phoenix will not put a local up-and-coming act on their card because they're not going to make any money because nobody knows them. And that's the problem. There is tens of thousands of talented artists, rappers, producers, singers, bands in my city that will never sniff the time of, never see the light of day because somebody either is trying to nickel and dime them out of their talent, or because other artists have done it, they think it's the right thing to do. So let me tell you this in closing, folks. Toronto will never have a music scene. Toronto will never have a indie scene, even the indie radio station. Does the indie radio station even play indie music? No, it doesn't. There's an indie station in my city that doesn't play indie music. If you come to Toronto and you're looking for a hip-hop R&B station, you ain't gonna find it because we ain't got one. Okay? We are, in North America, the 4th or 5th largest market, and we don't have an urban station. New York has 2 or more. Buffalo has 1. But we're the 4th largest city. And this argument's been going on for decades. And I don't want to rehash the argument. But the argument's been going on for decades and decades that we don't have an urban music vehicle for new artists to bust. I'm sorry, I'm maybe speaking out of left field, but G97 is not gonna bust no new artists. The DJs that play at every radio station in the city ain't gonna bust a new artist. You know what artists have to do? What Shawn Mendes had to do? Leave Toronto and make it somewhere else. Drake had to leave Toronto and make it somewhere else. Alicia Cara had to leave Brampton and make it somewhere else before their home country recognizes them. Okay? So when the next time somebody says, oh, Toronto has a booming music scene, I'm being honest with you. It doesn't. It never has, and it never will. It's an event city. It's a pop music city. It doesn't promote anything regarding their local scene, even TIFF, another event. There is nothing out there for the artists that are up and coming, the up and coming directors, the up and coming producers, the up and coming actors, the up and coming musicians to strive to say, you know what? I can make it in my city. I can make it in my country. There isn't anything like that. When that happens and when that changes, the sky's the limit for a lot of people in the entertainment business. All right? Thanks for tuning in, folks. As usual, you can hit me up at facebook.com/The Grateful Yardy Podcast. On Twitter, that is Mr. Special. On IG, that is Mr._Special. And also youtube.com, The Grateful Yardy Podcast. God bless. Stay grateful. Peace.